Okay, I think we're live again. We have some technical issues with the streaming. Okay, the last thing I mentioned um, before cutting the
Yes,
stream
awesome. And
was
we
about
like
common attack
kindly go
vectors,
on, please.
the mitigation. Okay, this is basically just checking this on the official docs of Somnia. These are three contracts that are working as official Oracle um, Chainlink price feeds. We are going to use them on the demo uh, contract, so we're going to be able to use that. Okay, basically, what Somnia is, if you are here, this is something that you probably already know. What I maybe worth to mention is that um, you have integrated this preferred Chainlink feeds and plus DA oracles. The IAA oracles are out of scope of this demo. Okay, just a fast overview of how, in general, these oracles are consumed. They implement a smart contract interface, which is the aggregator V3 interface. It's been V3 since a long time ago. Normally, you just declare the interface type, make the reference to the price feed. At some point, you're gonna put the address that we already saw here, uh, the, the, basically the address that you want to consume. At some point, maybe you're gonna set that during constructor, or maybe you're gonna have some setters in your code to do this post deployment, and then you're gonna have the most common things you're gonna do is to consume data by calling to the latest round data function. We can see a little bit more detail then. Da-da-da. Okay, these are the main functions of the interface that you're going to be using on your smart contracts implementation, which is last run data, get round data. This is basically you're going to have historical data, decimals, and description. Description is basically the feed ID. It explains you which is the pair of assets that you're getting a price for. Okay, let's move on. Okay, just was missing this practices. I mean, what I want to give you is basically some kind of advice from experience here. I mean, there's not any misery around this, but uh, things that we learn and I normally apply. First, try to isolate Oracle logic. It is pretty common that when you have, I don't know, just to mention something, then let me talk about some concrete examples I have been working on, because this is a pattern that I typically use. Um, for example, last year I was working for a kind of vault aggregator protocol, which basically take deposits of some assets, some underlying assets, and they split the funds and deploy capital into many pre-existing protocols. For example, it was pretty much about Ether, and it deployed Ether on many risk-taking protocols and liquid risk-taking, doing some related things with that. The thing is that it was some kind of multi-strategy protocol. You have many ways to manage the funds, and each of those different strategies was actual different um, different contracts finally deployed, and all of them needs to deal with many oracles many times. So that's a typical case when it's obvious that, I mean, kind of obvious that it's really a recommended thing to isolate all the access from your protocol to oracles in one single uh, access. So basically, you end up having a, I don't know, Oracle gateway or something like that, and you're like intermediating the interactions between your protocol and external oracles by your Oracle gateway. This gives you flexibility and lets you prevent how to implement changes of oracles in the future. All of them treat the oracles in the same way. You can have put some kind of abstraction and have, I don't know, if some oracle is failing, you can have some logic to query another oracle uses price feed uses as a backup and so on. So it's really a recommendable common pattern that you can use. Always handle decimals. Decimals, I already mentioned this. There's no secret about this, but I mean, do not assume that everything is just working well. Be absolutely responsible with your test when you're testing hedge cases. Be sure that, I mean, just consider this. For example, I think USDC has 6 decimals normally, depending which is the deployment, but normally it has 6 decimals. Oracle chain links normally report USD denominated prices with 8 decimals. Bitcoin denominated prices are normally expressed with 8 decimals. Um, I don't remember exactly USDT, but they have more decimals than that. Ether and many typical ERC20s has 18 decimals. So when you're making those price conversions, you need to really take care of that and avoiding just rounding just to make it simple, because it's really a high probability that you're going to break something. Plan for feed upgradability. This is something as a generalist to mention. Upgradability is not a virtue; it's a feature. Use it when it works to have upgradability as a feature in your protocol design. I mean, don't put just everything upgradable just because you're going to be also introducing probably some complexity into your smart contracts architectures. Use access control is kind of obvious. I mean, but sorry, I left it because there are many hacks related with this kind of things. Actually, I think I remember some attack on. I don't remember if there was an attack about that, but I can remember that Aave at some point there got some contract without any permission on the actual function that calls to updating the oracle, but it was an oracle that works as a backup. So I think they didn't have the uh, uh, I mean they didn't lost actual funds because of that, but it was kind of crazy to see the contract managing of a protocol like that managing millions and I don't know, maybe billions of dollars there, and without access control on such a critical function. So don't forget that. Use time lock periods before introducing critical changes. This again is a general recommendation. It's not just particular for uh, price feeds. Okay, using custom price feeds. Somehow we already discussed that. You can do that. Uh, the throwback is that you're going to have centralized updater. It's a really weak, I mean, solution. Think that you are going on chain. You actually have a smart contracts architecture. You're actually implementing smart contracts because somehow you care about decentralization, because that should be a aggregated value for your solution. And if you're introducing just a centralized point of, okay, I'm going to just put a backend with private keys and just sign in transactions on the backend, throwing the data with some frequency to my It's like I don't know, maybe for something that is really in early stage, really is an MVP, or I don't know, something like that. It could work, but it's not a serious thing. At least using multi-sig is a must. Okay, let's go because let's go more forward. Okay, let's go to the demo. Basically, what we're gonna see is it's a really simple thing. We are gonna have a price consumer contract. We are gonna see how is that implemented. Uh, the solution is implemented using hard hat. We're going to deploy some contract, consume data from these price feeds from Bitcoin, Ether, and USDC that we already had on testnet on Somnia. Uh, Basically that. I have some review of some challenging real case that's not part of the demo, but I think we're not gonna have time to see them also. Okay, first let's go to the code. This is something that you can already get from the sorry from the uh, from the repository. I can put this a little bit bigger. Not so. Okay, basically what I'm doing here is we have this really simple contract, which is price consumer. Um, we are importing the Chainlink contracts interface, which is aggregator v3 interface. This is public. This is something that you can just check out. We can just check out how the oracles are implemented actually. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna send the GitHub repo. Give me a moment. Let me know, Emmanuel, if you can access the repo. Okay, so let's move on. Um, okay, basically, we are not doing anything strange. It's just importing the library, the interface. We need this in order to be able to interact with the with the price feeds itself. We're going to deploy one contract. Each contract is going to have one single. It's going to have the reference for one of the oracles that are supported by the testnet network. It is set during the deployment time. Just security check. You cannot just set it to zero address. It's a typical thing. Then we're going to have a function in order to get the last price, get the decimals in order to be able to scale and use the data as you will in your requirements, and get latest. Okay, I'm using hard hat ignition, which is basically a straightforward way to make the deployments. Ta-ta. Maybe we can check out the demo script. Let's see what it does. The only thing it does is basically it calls to the from price decimals to the get latest function, and then it brings in the console all the data that we're consuming from the. I mean, it's just to showcase how this work. This, like, you can have a UI to do this, or but basically I didn't want to dedicate time to build an UI because, or just put in even nothing simple, because normally you use this from other contracts, so you need to call these functions and see what to expect, what to use. Okay, so here, a detail. Let's see how this is working. When we call to this scripts, it is actual executing ignition deploy, parameterizing already the network that is configured on the hard hat on the TS on the hard hat config file, and we are adding the parameterization for each feed, which need if you're going to see the documentation of Somnia, uh, those those are the price feeds that are supported right now. So let's go with the deployment already, then see how it actually works. Yes, this is the network ID of Somnia. It works really fast. And we have um, this address. We can already check that out on the on Somnia testnet. Let's see if that is already deployed. Have the price consumer. Have the contract. This is already verified because I did that on a previous execution. So as you can see already, it is absolutely transparent, and anyone can see the code deployed there. Now we can just execute the demo script in order to see how it works. I'll be we're going to parameterize the contract that we already deployed. I think we need to specify the network. So where it is. Okay. Where's sorry, making a oh, sorry, typo here. Okay, as you can see, this is our contract. It is consuming the price feeds and saying that it is using 8 decimals. The row value that it is getting is this. If you extract the 8 decimals from here, you get basically the current price of Ether right now. This is the actual price, and the last update details. So that's basically how it works. We can do the same with, I don't know, let's do the Bitcoin. one more. Somehow, I don't know why this is bringing the same. Maybe I'm okay. This is maybe a detail. I don't know if I execute this again. I think this is generating the same address. Yes. Okay. Something is failing here. Maybe I have I have some error on the scripts. I don't know. BTC USDC, BTC USD, USD. Okay, but I don't want to go to details of fixing that. Maybe it's just a simple thing. But what I wanted to use sometime is to go to see a little bit of how these contracts are actually implemented. If you check this address is one of the that we're using. Let me see. It ends in 449E, and 449E is ETH USDC. Okay, so if you go here, you're gonna see this is basically a proxy to the contract. I mean, you can see you can already interact with the proxy, but it is delegating you to to a concrete aggregator, to an implementation contract. The implementation contract in this case, I think it's this or this. Okay, and here you go. If you want to see the internal logic of the aggregators of Chainlink, you can already see that how it works. It's not our intention here to go into the deep details of this. They implement several interfaces, but in particular, for example, when we see where are the state variables that defines and controls what you're reading, you can check that out exactly here. Okay, so config set. This is not responding so well. Okay, get raw data. Here are the functions of the aggregator, how they're implemented. But I wanted to show you. You can see the timestamp. Basically, they have this concept of rounds where they're pulling all the data together and pushing the data to the contract. Okay, but maybe we're just losing time that we can use for Q&A. So if we want to start with that, it's okay.
Awesome. Hi, Rodrigo. Hi, Rodrigo. I think your audio is turned off. If you can hear me, Rodrigo. No, not on the call. Yes, I think it's what's about coming on. Okay, we are going to take questions now. Um, Apparently, the stream broke up into two parts, and I am trying to ascertain if Rodrigo can hear me on here. Um, I think it would help if we can move the headphones. See, trying to get Rodrigo's audio back. It's a bit choppy. Awesome, 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 awesome. I want to first of all say thank you, everyone, for your patience for being on here to the very end while we are waiting to get the sound back from Rodrigo's end. I am just going to answer a question that came in before the stream broke into parts. And also, if you want to rewatch this session, it is live on YouTube, and I'm going to share the link on X right afterwards. And then again, the question was if it is important for developers to conduct code audits before we go on mainnet. So it's a two-part answer, but the too long don't read version, it's yes, of course, it is important for audits to be conducted. So that way, the mass number of users that are going to be interacting with your smart contract will be able to confirm and verify that it is safe. And then secondly, there are like tools and dev tooling partners already building on top of Sonia ecosystem that you can pair up with, and then we'll be able to make your auditing process easier. But then again, I'm just going to look through the chat to see if there are any questions. While waiting for any questions to come in, I want to share a link to the resource in the docs where you can go learn more about how you can leverage the Protofire live price feed service to build applications that require that depend on the token available that has been deployed by the Protofire team on Somnia. Um, so just trying to get Rodrigo's audio back too. And then while that is happening, okay, Rodrigo, I think we lost your audio there.
Okay. Now, okay. I
Yes, I think the audio is back. Yes, yes, it's back now.
okay. Sorry. I was
Awesome,
listening
awesome.
to the Q and
Oh,
A.
awesome, awesome, awesome.
But
So,
just one comment from my side about audits. Um, First, I agree. I mean, normally we must say that before going mainnet, everybody should audit their contracts. But
yes, please go ahead.
from reality and my experience is that sometimes some projects decide to go without audits or maybe with internal audits. When we do internal audits at Profire, basically what we do is assign a different team of devs to review the code and basically to have a different pair of eyes on top of everything that we're going to deploy. That's kind of the minimum that I personally recommend to do. I I mean, if you're not, if your project is restricted by funds, or you're still in an early stage or trying to prove some concept, maybe you can go to mainnet, even if like you have like several cheap L2s to use. You don't need to go to Ethereum in particular. So there are many options to do that. So there are some circumstances, some scenarios where you can maybe accept not to actually pay to a complete audit, um, but you need to be aware of the conditions that you're throwing into mainnet. So try to deal with that in the best way possible. Mostly just for MVPs or
Awesome.
those kind of.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for throwing more lights on there, Rodrigo. Deeply appreciates that. So, just before we wrap up the session, because we are close to the top of the hour mark, I just want to remind everyone else that if you do have questions, kindly feel free to reach out directly to the Protofire team at any time. And of course, I'm always available on Discord, so you can reach out to me if you have any questions, either via the public channels, the dev chats, the dev support channels, or via the private DMs. And I am available to always provide you with solutions or to connect you with the Protofire team should you have any of those particular questions. And just before we wrap up, it's our tradition here to get advice from partners that present these sessions. So, Rodrigo, just two questions basically. First, your experience deploying these solutions on top of Somnia. And secondly, we'll come back from that and one will get some advice from you for developers.
Okay. Basically, my experience working on Somnia, the stack works pretty well. I mean, I'm really expecting to see what happens with the with mainnet. It really worked without any issue. And it's something that I must say, it's not always like that. I already used other testnet and new chains, and normally you have some issues with compatibility and compliance with all the persisting tools that we typically use under when we are working on smart contracts architectures. So you got my advice.
That is delightful to hear, right? Because that's a two for one. And basically, nothing compares to the experience, and then having an infra like yours that is able to like keep up with the pace and build at that scale. That is also a delightful experience, and kudos to your team as well. And just as a way of parting words, any advice that you want to like give developers who want to like start exploring building on Web3 for the first time, possibly coming from the Web2 background, and how best they can understand oracles and implement it in their day-to-day solutions.
Okay. Just I remember I have a complete talk of around 2 hours just talking about that. I mean, how to reconfigure your thinking model when you're introducing into Web3 development. Basically, is more than ever, more than with any other thing, the main principle, one of the main principles is uh, keys. Keep it simple, stupid. Try to do not overcomplicate the things. Do not, I mean, try to be minimalist. Try to break the architecture into several parts. Do not bring with monster smart contracts that do a lot of things and are not so cohesive. Uh, you need to be always in a defensive mode. You are in a completely adversarial environment, and if something can be breaking into your code, it will be. So just be sure of that and take that into consideration whenever you're writing smart contract code. That's my advice.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That's very delightful advice from the ages, and of course, it is a great way to end today's session. Keep it very, very simple. Apply the keys principle. Thank you so much for being here with us, Rodrigo, and thanks to everyone that has been here, part of this session. The video is available on YouTube if you want to rewatch it, and of course, you can also rewatch it here on X. And the documentation is available. There's the link to the GitHub that Rodrigo has already shared, and of course, there's the link to the official Somnia docs where you can go learn how to integrate the Protofire price feeds and see the already existing token pairs that you can leverage on and integrate into your projects. That said, thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Do have a
Thank you very much.
wonderful week. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Yeah.